As fear over the COVID-19 virus's global spreading went from bad to worse, news suddenly broke that the entire US economy would be grinding to a screeching halt, with nationwide lockdowns enforced effective immediately. What happened next, those who were there remember all too well. Markets crashed, and few were hit harder that night than Bitcoin, which plummeted by over 50% over the course of just a few hours. Sometimes opportunity knocks gently. Other times, it smashes open your door like an anvil hammer. It may have never smashed louder than during Bitcoin's Black Thursday crash of March 2020. But only those traders who were prepared beforehand got to take advantage. My buddy Mike was one of those savvy traders, and he wound up making a fortune. Now, not only is he fashionably unemployed, but he also gets to take his catamaran out for daily sails in the South Pacific. Way to go, Mike. Today I'll explain not only the bet he made, but also how he did it, so you too can capitalize the next time opportunity arrives. Let's go back to that Black Thursday of March 2020. If you remember that night, Bitcoin had plummeted by over 50% in the span of just a few hours. But just when it seemed that markets would never be able to recover, the Federal Reserve jumped to the rescue and quote-unquote flooded the system with money. Now my pal Mike is no rocket scientist. But fortunately, you don't need to be a rocket scientist in order to figure out how markets react in the face of unlimited money printing. Mike knew enough to realize what was about to happen. Bitcoin number go up. Huge. Like new all-time highs within a matter of months type huge. He also knew he had limited time to act on this conviction and limited funds to do so with. He needed to find a way to maximize his leverage to the upside without running the risk of margin calls or liquidations if Bitcoin took another fall lower. So what he did next is what I'll be teaching you about over the course of the next several videos. How to use a nifty little tool called options to limit your risk and maximize your rewards. Now you may have heard of options before, and I know they sound complicated, with terms like covered calls, strike price, and other jargon, but I'm here to tell you that they're not as hard to understand as they may seem. In fact, if you're smart enough to understand how to use a basic hardware wallet, you're probably smart enough to trade options. And if you're worried that options are just too risky for average traders to dip their feet into, you couldn't be more wrong. You see, options are basically a turbocharged version of slot machine gambling, where your risk is clearly defined and your upside is potentially limitless. A few pennies in equals potentially unlimited dollars out. It's the ideal risk-reward proposition. The bottom line is this: with the strategy Mike used, you can't lose more than what you risk. You see, if Mike had only made a simple spot purchase of Bitcoin on Black Thursday, he would have been able to book a profit of nearly 30x from bottom to top. That's not bad, but that's also not enough to turn a few $1,000s of risk into millions of dollars of reward the way Mike did. By using a basic Bitcoin option buying strategy instead, however, he was able to book a profit of over 1,000x, which helped turn him into a multimillionaire. That's the power of options trading, and that's what we'll be unlocking for you in this series. So if you're seeking ways to earn more from Bitcoin's moves, while limiting your downside risk and avoiding predatory futures markets, this series is going to be perfect for you. Now to see exactly the bet Mike made and how he did it, let's move on to the next video.